I've been looking for a low-powered dashboard that's easy to use, easy to customize, and actually useful around the house. In this video, I'm going to turn the Seed Studio reTerminal E1003 into two different Home Assistant dashboards. The first is an interactive dashboard that reacts to state changes. The second is a more low-powered dashboard designed to preserve battery power so it only updates every hour. This video is sponsored by OpenELab. They were kind enough to send me this reTerminal for testing, but this will be my honest opinion and they're not paying me to give a positive review here. There's a lot to cover in this video, so I'm going to make this unboxing super quick. On the side here we have a micro SD slot, a power switch and a USB-C cable. At the top we have the screen refresh button, the page up and down, and the Wi-Fi antenna area. Let's run through the basics of setting up a simple project. First, you'll need to have ESPHome installed and the right version. So if you go into Settings, Apps, and then Install App, and just search for it here, and you should see it. If you already have it installed, just make sure you have the latest version, a version higher than this basically. Okay, let's run through setting up a basic project. So if you go into ESPHome Builder here, press Create Device, Create New Project. We're going to select anything here because we're going to change it. Just going to select this one here. Okay, I'm just going to give it a name like ePaper Hello and then create. Here we're going to need to tell it the right chip and which build to use. Then we just need to give it the PS RAM. This is the extra chip that the board uses for kind of drawing on the screen. Oh, I need to fix this. I'm not going to bother with the logger, but you could set that to like info or error. I'm going to leave the encryption key and the Wi-Fi password as is. The Wi-Fi name and password is actually defined in your secrets. I'll show you where that is now. I'll just save this. If you go back into ESPHome Builder and just click here at the top and then secrets, and you just need to set that in here. Next, we need to set the SPI, and this is just some wiring instructions for the ePaper screen itself. It's just basically a number of pins that say the screen is connected here. Now we're just going to add in the temperature sensor here, which basically updates the temperature every 60 seconds. Oh, I forgot to add in the sensor for that. And this I2C is the temperature sensor on the board itself. Now we're just going to add in the font. And let's add in the display section. And in here, the lambda is how we write to the screen. So first we do IT fill color on, which just kind of sets the whole screen white. And then we printed the screen starting at 40 pixels from the left and 40 pixels from the top. We just say hello YouTube. And then again, same idea, but 130 pixels down, we just print the temperature from the temperature that we got here. Okay, so we just press save and then install, plugged into this computer. And then this might take a bit of time if it's your first time to build. It took 4 minutes on my Raspberry Pi 5. Then you just need to click open USB flasher, connect and install, select the USB port, connect, and then this might take a bit of time. Not too long though. Cool. I'm obviously going to jump ahead here. I'm not going to make you wait for this whole thing. That's it done. Let's see what it looks like. Right, probably not the most amazing thing ever, but I hope you found that useful. It does mean we can skip the basics and the more complex YAMLs. Let's take a look at the touch version of the dashboard. This version of the dashboard is the more interactive version. So at the top of the file here, we have the name, the kind of friendly name and stuff. And then we have this on boot section. And in here, then we've got some stuff with the battery, just to kind of turn it on to get a reading of what the battery is. And then we've got a delay of 8 seconds. This is so the Wi-Fi can connect and I can populate the information from Home Assistant. And then we do a refresh. We call the refresh execute. The next section is telling Home Assistant what kind of chip we have and that it has this extra RAM, PS RAM. And this is used by the ePaper drivers. So this redraw target is really where the magic happens. It's very clever. ePaper screens are slow at redrawing, so instead of reprinting the entire screen, every time a light is toggled, the variable remembers which box it needs to redraw. And that variable is stored right here in this redraw target. So if we take a look at these sensors here, you can see like redraw value 1 there. And then the next one has redraw value 2. This on state changed as well is quite clever. It actually, if the state of something changes in Home Assistant, it then redraws that part. So if you change it using Home Assistant voice, that'll redraw that on that state change. I'll show you this now. Hey Jarvis, turn on the kitchen lights.
Turned on the light.
Hey Jarvis, turn off the kitchen lights.
Turned off the light.
And if we scroll down a bit to the do refresh section, we can see here where these values are set as well. Like you have like value 0, value 1, 2, and 3. And as well here in this lambda, these are all set and used. So this target is storing the ID. And then if we go down here a bit, and this is where it's used here to do the partial redraw. Let's take a look at the weather forecast. Home Assistant's forecast isn't one tidy sensor. It's actually 5 separate sensors with conditions and strings. So you've got the weather conditions as one string, and then the weather temperature as another. And we obviously have 5 because we want the 5-day weather. And then at the bottom of the file here is where we kind of loop through and print all that out. And this little WX here is for mapping to the icons. You can see here it's got the condition. If we scroll up a bit, we can see this here. And you can see the kind of weather here at the bottom. I've picked probably the worst time in Ireland. Normally, like you'd have all seasons in a week, but at the moment we're in the middle of a heat wave, so there's only the 2 icons showing. So the battery, I started charging this yesterday. It was at 38% at 10:30 in the morning. At 11 o'clock, it was at 46, so it's pretty slow charging. By 4 o'clock, it was basically fully charged. So I put it on the wall about 5 o'clock. Let's see what it's like after a day of usage. So I didn't use it too much over the day. I just kind of like turned off the lights as I was walking through because my lights turn on automatically anyway. But let's see what the battery is like the next day. Yeah, so if you're using the touch features, you're definitely going to want to have this wired plugged in with the USB because it's 32% at 12 o'clock the next day. Let's take a look at a more low powered dashboard. I don't actually have a way to plug this in, and I've already put 2 holes in the wall, so there's no turning back really. I better make a low powered version that works well. Okay, so it's fully charged. Let's see how long the battery lasts this time. The old design stayed connected to Wi-Fi and Home Assistant permanently and redrew the screen every 30 minutes. This new design doesn't have touch enabled, there's no kind of light switches, and it goes into a deep sleep, and it wakes once an hour rather than every 30 minutes. Let's run through the YAML file now. The first part probably worth mentioning is the deep sleep. This means the chip powers down and almost everything is asleep in between wakes. Unlike the last dashboard, where we had touchscreen, this one doesn't need it, so this is also saving on power. This also has sleep when done set to true. This is not the main processor, it's the screen's own controller that powers down between drawing. Let's run through each section of the screen, and we'll start off with the 2-week calendar grid. The main part of this is built with a Google Calendar integration. This is the Google Calendar integration that I used. I'll leave a link for this in the description. There is a little bit to setting it up, but I'm not going to go through it all here. I have to say though, if you are using Gmail, it is a really nice integration and I do recommend it. The reason I'm using it is because me and my girlfriend have this shared calendar. It's called Cool for Cats. Don't ask why. So the first part to probably look at is the automation. So this runs every 30 minutes and it basically just calls a script that builds the calendar grid. Let's take a look at this build calendar grid script. I'll include a link to all the YAML for these automations as well if people want them. This script pulls the information like the events from the calendar and then updates helpers inside our Home Assistant with that information. And if we go into devices and services, and we can find these kitchen cal day helpers here. They're just simple input text. And then in the YAML file, it's actually quite simple. It just takes all that information here. You can see it all being stored here. It takes the long entity ID and just gives it a shorter ID then. And if we scroll down then to the bottom of the file here, to the Lambda section, we can see that the calendar section is actually quite small. There's not a lot to it. This is basically just looping through and then drawing that onto the screen. So I'm going to skip over the weather because I kind of covered that in the last one. But let's look at the last few sections. So the first is washing, and this is literally just a Boolean that I have in Home Assistant. I basically have an IKEA button for toggling this Boolean on and off. This is that helper inside of Home Assistant. And then this is used for basically just tracking the weather and the rain and stuff. And this is fairly simple again, just takes that Boolean here and then just draws it onto the screen here in the Lambda section. And the temperature and the humidity are actually something that comes from the reTerminal itself. And you can find that in the YAML file here. It's just these two sensors, the temperature and the humidity. And if we jump down then to the YAML section, you can see that being printed out here. This little bit of hex here is actually just the icons. And the last section here is just a coffee. Because I have a smart plug on my coffee machine, I can actually tell the last time it was brewed. And then I just record this in this little helper here in Home Assistant. And again, this is fairly simple. It's just drawn onto the screen here at the bottom. You can see it uses this coffee text here as the ID. And then it just gets that value from this entity here in Home Assistant. So at around 7 o'clock at night, this battery was at 92%. The next morning it dropped to 88% at 9 AM, which means it lost about 4%. So at this rate, you could expect the battery to last around 15 days. Probably not great. Maybe I'll change it to refresh every 2 hours instead. So after building the two dashboards, I think it's pretty clear that this reTerminal gives you a lot of flexibility. You can have this kind of like interactive dashboard, which is really cool, or you can have the static one if you want to go with like low powered battery. And because I can't wire mine in, I'm going to have to go with low powered and battery. But still, it's great that it gives you a lot of flexibility. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and please consider liking and subscribing. Cheers.